That was good, Frank. Thanks for that.
Nice. Nailed it.
Very good. Okay. So this is our AMA. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Hopefully Julian does some kind of intro, so we don't have to. Otherwise, this is gonna be a really bad intro, right? So, shall we go straight into the questions?
You did great, man.
Yeah.
One of us did great.
So,
yeah, don't make this awkward, man.
so the first question is from a young man called Barracuda _, and he asks, "Who's smarter, Ataraxia or Emilzy?" Now, I reject the term smart being thrown around for either of these two. First of all,
Heybad is very smart. He knows how to record audio. How about Heybad?
Come on.
Are we voting Haber?
Yeah.
I'm not an option. I'm not an option.
Question.
I think
okay.
Hazer is more smart than either.
Smart.
It's actually more smarter.
More smartering.
Yeah. All right. Well, Emilzy, Nate, which does any one of you want to say? No, I'm smarter. I'm the smartest. No.
I think we're both outwardly to the public. People think we're smart,
We're not.
and people are very wrong about that for both of us.
That's the smartest thing you said.
Yeah, that's the smartest thing I've
so
ever heard
I
Nate
come
say.
up with
Yeah.
Very, very stupid builds, and Nils, for the
Nils
first
too.
4 months on the team, never picked his own character.
Come on, man.
There's a lot of to off those on how intelligent we are as Smite players.
What about the Amaterasu pick? That's mine.
That's true. You did bring that one. That's fair.
All right. I'll
Should we
consider
do
that
that
answered then, right? That'll do.
Good.
They're
Although,
both
because
dumb.
I gave a modest answer in which we're both not smart, that technically makes me the smartest.
Modesty-
You did just say you
modesty.
thought I was the smart.
Yeah,
because
and
the answer,
Nils
so
defended himself too.
I feel like I kind of win now.
What is the saying? That talking is silver and silence is gold. Right? That makes.
I have never heard that. I have heard silence is golden before.
No one's ever said that.
Yeah, I think you made that up.
Never done this.
All right.
It's not a good place.
Let's keep on firing through these. We've got a lot of questions to go for. So we got a question from Gilgamesh Co, who says, "Who's the shot caller for Obey?" And I don't know. Does somebody want to specifically answer this? I think we all know the answer to this, but
You've probably got the best perspective on this, Hazer, since you listen.
I do always listen to you guys all the time. So, shot calling wise, we don't have a dedicated shot caller, so it just depends on the time of the game who's going to pick up on things. Generally, so Twig and Nils, through the early mid game have the most view of the entire map and are moving around between mid, duo lane and solo the most, so they can see patterns in the game and see where we want to look to make plays. But then as you get further into the late game, it'll be Prime and Nate can see who they can get their damage on, and then therefore who we can kill, and so they're the ones who are calling targets in terms of that. In terms of objectives, Prime does it sometimes, Nils does it sometimes, Nate does it sometimes. Between those three really, and Zelia will just call his own rotations and call what he's doing himself, but not so much shot calling for the entire team. Does that sound about right?
Sounds good.
Sounds about right to me, man.
Okay, cool. Next question. From Valency. Not Valencia, but close enough. He says, most underrated players in EU SPL. So I think let's let Twig take this one. Twig, who do you think the most underrated players in the EU SPL are?
Definitely for me, one of the scariest support players to come up against is Draco Marino. I feel like he's always got, my number when I try to gank. He's always there, to protect whoever I'm ganking. He's always, stopping me rotating, looking to poke out all our team. I feel like he's really got Obey's number, and he's an up-and-comer for the EU SPL.
I feel like he's always in range as well with his abilities, he's always there to hit you exactly when you don't want him to.
So from, I think that's Catharsis, I think is how you would say that name. Anyway, they ask, with the new map for Season 5, what is the change you are most hoping for? I guess you guys could go through this one by one, or one of you could take it if you want it.
For me personally, I'd like to see reasons for duo lane to be more alone and played as a duo, because I think me and Emilzy, when we play together, that's probably when we're at our strongest. And more reasons for him to stay in duo and the rest of the map to be more isolated. I think that would shoot us as a team, and I think it'd be a lot more fun as well, because then duo lane picks will become a lot more interesting, because you're not just picking for team fights and stuff. You could pick to win the lane, and that could win you the game. And really, right now, that's not much of a thing. It's usually a character that's good in lane is also good at the end of the game.
I'd agree with Nate. Like, just the whole map being bigger is gonna help a lot. Imo, just it takes too little time to run from one side of the map to the other. You can get so far, so fast. You can rotate so quickly, and that means you can like make a half rotation to mid and still make it back for a dual lane wave. You can even go into mid and make it back in time. They already said that they thought the map was going to be a lot bigger, so I'm like, really looking forward to that.
Sounds perfect.
In agreement with Nate and Nilsy, kinda, I do feel like Smite should avoid encouraging a 3-man mid kind of situation where the support jungler and mid are all getting their 6 gold off the mid wave. I feel like that's very boring, and it encourages pressure almost, but not really. It's just the fact that there's mid camps and it's in the middle of everything, so you can rotate quickly to anything. And I want Smite to veer away from that. Encourage the jungle to actually be in the jungle rather than in a lane all the time, and stop like so much encouragement on being in mid so much.
I think they should decrease the value you get out of sharing. Like not for the. That would encourage people to not group up as much, and people would go for plays without losing out on like farm and shit, you know. You can go for stuff without your team actually just losing out on like overall farm like you do now.
So you mean like encouraging 2-man sharing over 3-man sharing, like making
Well, not encourage, like sharing is just too effective, so you'd never do anything only like 1 man ever.
Ah, I get you. Okay.
Like it could still be better to share, but not as good as it is now, because if you're not 2-man sharing stuff now, you're kind of doing it wrong. Like you could still, like, people could just wait around and look for stuff, and they don't have to run around to farm all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about you, Zelia? Do you have any feelings on what you'd like to change in Season 5?
I like the sound of a bigger map. Get the jungler out of my lane. I'm a big fan of that. Stay away.
No backup picks.
Leave me alone. The
Maybe
return of
just say
solo
that's
islands. I'm about that.
Alright. So next up we got a question for Pretty Prime from Rosie, who says, so when I go into competitive games, I always find myself feeling super nervous and get all shaky. I tend to make bad decisions and mess up. How do you cope with this? Or what advice can you give for others that do have these issues?
I don't know, you still always get a little bit nervous when you play, I feel like. I think it's kind of good to get a little bit nervous as well. Just a little bit, you don't want to get too shaky. Like if you don't get a little bit nervous at all, it doesn't feel like anything is really on the line. But I don't really know how to cope with it. I never had any problems with it, really. So.
Has anybody else had any issues with it and have a solution that's worked for them at all?
When I played StarCraft, that was a real struggle. They called it ladder anxiety on that game, which is where you got to like really anxious about queuing the ranked modes, and it was a huge thing to overcome for me back then. I was maybe 18 or something when I was playing, and I think that going through that process is what allowed me to be decent at Smite. But you kind of just gotta, for me, you gotta tackle where it comes from, because for me, the super nervousness about it, and I still have that today. Like I have a Smurf to play other roles because I don't want people to judge me when I play anything that's not ADC, you know. So for me, it comes to the root issue of I hate looking bad, and you've got to find out what the issue is for you, what makes you super nervous, and kind of just swallow it. You know, at the end of the day, even though it really feels like it matters a lot, like even when I go Q rank tomorrow, I'll have to swallow it then. But it doesn't matter to anyone else other than you. That's what I tell myself anyway.
It's a good answer. A little bit too much talking about swallowing it, but we'll move on.
Oh, no.
Okay, so we got some reasonably similar questions from Elisa XM0 and JPKI101. So we're going to focus these down into one question, and the question is, if you were to rearrange the team so that no player could stay in their current role, what would your new roster look like? So where would everybody be playing? So I don't know. I think the biggest issue here is Prime not playing mid.
Come on, man.
That is true. I was
like
just
it.
thinking.
Let's
I
start
could
with
play
Prime,
ADC and I could play support. That's probably what I can play.
I feel like I should be playing support. I
Sayla
feel like
should
I have
definitely
the most
support red.
experience with supportive characters. Although I would be the most aggressive supporter
All right.
'Cause-
So I think we have to put Nate to solo then. Like, gotta get that Sylvanas
I
solo
would get
going.
Sylvanas.
We get Nils or jungle.
If I'm not a Sylvanas main in solo, I'd probably choose jungle.
Ah. So Twig goes
Smite.
mid, right? That's
Yeah, Twig
gotta be.
definitely
Yeah,
goes
I
mid.
mean,
Do you want to go
I
mid?
could come back to mid. I am probably the best mid.
Well, shouldn't the best duelist win solo where all the 1v1 kills happen?
There's so
all your
much
experience
one-on-one
there
these days.
would make you the best at that lane. Is
Well,
what I
yeah,
hear.
I'd be the best solo laner too, but I think we're in terms of mid laning, no one has the talent like I do. Like no one,
Alright,
no
can we
one
just
could play
interrupt him
mages in
already?
position as well as I could.
So the correct answer is Twig in every role.
I guess
Yeah.
it's-
If only it were possible.
What
I could
would
probably
work?
dominate in every role. Yeah.
Would Twig go solo or mid? Actually, you would go
I think
mid.
mid.
Right?
Yeah, mid.
Mid
It
Have
has to go.
Sailor support.
Wait, who's
Prime
my ADC?
ADC?
Prime ADC?
Prime ADC.
Yeah, I
Okay,
should
got it.
probably ADC.
I would probably go mid then. If
Yeah, that
Nate-
makes sense. And then Nate solo. Yeah, Sylvanas solo.
I
think
actually
perfect.
No. Wait. What was
Twig
Twig?
was mid.
But then Twig
You
is
mean
jungle.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, wait.
In that scenario,
Yeah.
Twig is
Okay.
jungle.
Okay,
Oh,
If
yeah.
Twig is mid, you have to pick between ADC. I think, yeah.
you should go solo.
No, Prime
then.
has to be ADC because he
I
said support or ADC. Right?
I can't play solo, and I won't ever play solo. I'm a good jungler.
You can
I played,
coach. You can coach, and I'll solo.
I don't know. I
Perfect.
played with
Let's
Nils
let
the jungle,
Nils
man.
jungle.
It is not a hoot and a half.
I have actually been a coach on a professional level before, and
I
I've
know.
also played a game of jungle. Yeah, we
Hazer,
succeeded.
Hazer could jungle.
Yeah.
Because
I
Hayes
suppose I
shouldn't
could.
be the bat substitute. If we ever put cameras up, Hayes is in.
If
That's
Emil's
true.
was
Every time.
coach, then Hazer could jungle.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that
that'd be-
works.
Prime ADC, Nate solo, and I'd
Yeah.
mid.
Actually,
Okay.
I don't mind that. That's
Yeah,
good
let's do
then.
that. Let's do that. Season 5?
Oh.
We're changing
that,
that.
boys.
Yeah, we're,
Then I have
we're
more time for
announcing
school
a
then
change
as
in our
well.
roster to that.
Pre-Worlds, we'll win Super
I'm-
Regionals, and then we'll
I'm
switch
gonna
our
be a bit
roster.
late for scrims, boys. I have to go to the pub and drink a pint.
That is not what I
Coaches
sound
with the
like,
boys.
and I don't do that. Alright, good job. Good job, we did it. We have a question from Yavana, which says, will you let Zalia play off-meta picks? I think we will let Zalia play off-meta picks if he wants to play them. Do you want to play off-meta picks, Zalia?
I mean, obviously. I think it's a question whether you guys will be smart, understanding teammates. Or
We've already
assholes
established me
that
and Nils
don't
are pretty fun,
understand
so.
genius when they see it. I think that's really the question here.
I think on a serious note, I think playing off meta picks in general in any role will always be based on trust, and trust on whether these off meta picks will do anything for us as a team, whether they bring anything to us, like us as a team, and whether like we think that it's better than the meta picks. And I think in general, like when, especially since we picked up Zalia, we already pretty much announced that we have trust in Zalia's skill and Zalia's understanding of off-meta picks.
What I will say for Zalia is, out of every solo laner that I've teamed with, he is the most. He's the best at conveying his knowledge. So by that extent, in my eyes, he's the most knowledgeable solo laner in why he's picking characters. A lot of solo laners have played to just pick characters, and whether they have a monologue in their mind, they never share it with the team, or have never shared it with the team. But Zalia has a lot of oomph. So as far as I'm concerned, if Zalia continues to present arguments for why to play anything, he can play whatever he wants, you know? So long as it doesn't screw the team comp, I'm down for it.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that one, with Zalia being, he's definitely more vocal in picks and bans than any solo laner I've ever been on a team with before. So we've got a question here from Meme Master Colon, and he's saying, Meme Master Colon, it's a good name, he's saying, I really love Emilzy, I just got my 7th Diamond Guardian, and I'm loving it. A question for Emilzy, how did you decide on support? Which support character is your favorite, and how did you get into the SPL?
Right. So I guess actually how I decided on support and how I got into the SPL is kind of the same thing. So I would, back in the day, I would play a lot, but mainly I would try, I guess, sniping players like Satman and stuff. And I was like, I'm just gonna show myself off. And back then I probably didn't even know what sniping was. I was just queuing into him and hoping to get in the game with him, which I guess is sniping. But I was support and I would like watch his stream, and I found it like that was a big inspiration when you could play with like these kind of players before they split regions and stuff. And I tried like pretty much every other role, but support just felt the most natural, and because of that as well, eventually in ranked, I got noticed by Variety, who asked me to sub in 1 week for Worth Gaming, they were called back then. That was when they did the weekly tournaments, and we actually ended up winning, beating, I think, TSM in the semi-final and C9 in the final. I was 13 back then, that was really big. That's good. And my pod character, which is the favorite, I always said it varies from day to day. It's like whatever mood I'm in. Today I'm probably in a bit of a terror mood today, but there's a lot I think are really fun.
Cool. Thank you, Nilsy. We've actually got another one for all of us, but mostly for Nilsy, I think, and it's from iHazam, and he asks, how has growing up playing pro Smite changed your teenagerhood / young adulthood? Any regrets of things you've missed out on, or alternately, any particular positives that you think will give you a leg up for the rest of your lives after Smite? So I don't know. I guess
that first.
Sure. Twig, you wanna start with this one?
Well, actually, it's made a huge impact on my life. I quit university after only about, well, it was a term from about August to December, so only after 1 term, about 4 months of going at university, and I was already in the pro Smite scene then, and I just decided that I really want to focus on Smite. It's what I'm enjoying right now. It's what I want to spend all my time doing, and I straight up quit out on my degree on maths at uni. And I haven't looked back really. I don't regret it. But I will, after Smite, whatever happens, I will miss out on having a university degree. But I think it's basically changed my whole life. Like, this is my career now. What comes next, I don't know, but I'm really enjoying what I'm doing right now.
Sure. It's a good answer. Does anybody else have anything to add to that, or should we go to Nilsy, who probably has the most to talk about regarding this? Primo?
No, I don't really.
Has it not affected your teenagerhood?
Well, it's basically the same. Like it's the same as Twig. I dropped out of anything, and I only play Smite now. Like that's what I do.
Yeah.
So in the way it affected my life, like it changed my entire life, really. So.
Man.
Similar fashion for me, really. Although I didn't drop out, I decided not to go for university when I know I was gonna play Smite. I feel like I was gonna drop out eventually.
Go list up to uni right now, and then you can drop out by Worlds. It's a rite of passage on this team.
Hey,
Everybody's dropped
That
out
is
by
true.
now.
Should drop out.
Whoa. I'll have all you deadbeats know that I completed my degree. Thank you very much.
That is true.
He does have a degree.
So Nilsy, what about you? How do
Does
you feel?
AJ
I
have a
guess?
degree?
I don't think so, no. Just me.
Right. Just good to know.
Okay. It's rough for me because I'm not the guy that uses the most amount of time on Smite, because I'm the only one that's still in school and haven't quit yet, dropped out yet. It's definitely affected me a lot. In the start, I was really nervous with like how my friends would take it. I played a lot of football like everyone else did, and I was just a normal young lad. But then suddenly I played games. Luckily, a lot of my friends actually play as well, and I have my 3 closest friends. They play Smite as well, and I'm actually pretty good at it. So and they kind of started with me. We started on the same time, so it's been alright. It's been really stressed, like especially the last year, where I started something called gymnasium, which is a college thing here in Denmark. It makes me miss out on a lot of things in regard to that question. I go to school, then I make homework, I stream, I play scrims, and I go to bed, and that's kind of my rhythm. And then I try to catch up in the weekends, but it's really rough. If I want to do something, if I want to go to a party or see a friend or something, my schedule kind of just like falls apart. I'm gonna be like not getting enough sleep or whatever. So it has an effect in that I can't be as good as I want to be in school because I've chosen to like prioritize Smite. And I definitely think on the other side though, it gives me a lot of like really good things. Because first of all, there's the thing that I don't really use a lot of money, but I have the money, so I don't have to be like bothered if we have to pay for something for like a school trip somewhere, whatever. I don't have to have a job for that, and that's really cool. So I don't have to put the extra hours in for that. Where some of my friends are doing, and you're making so much money. Wow. It helps me definitely, like throughout my early teenage years. Also, if I'm gonna move out at some point. But I think it's way more pluses than minuses for me playing Smite. You learn so much, like just being around people as well. Like starting as 13 years old, like not speaking your main language, your native language, and then having to meet people from all around like Europe and NA and whatever. It learns you a lot about life that you wouldn't learn by just going to uni. I think it's positive. That's a long answer.
Yeah,
Whatever.
It's good though. Lots of detail. I like it. Good job, Nosy. All right, I think that question can be considered answered, and we will move on to. We have a question from DJ Singletone, and DJ Singletone asks, "What got you guys into Smite, and what gods did you first enjoy playing?" So this seems like one where we'll take it one by one. So we'll start off with Nate.
I got into Smite. My brother, we used to play a lot of games together, and then we kind of stopped when he went to uni, and I was in college. And then he bought into Smite. It was at the very early days, at the very start in June 2012, and he bought in. And when you buy into it, you got a free key, and he passed that to me. And he was home for for Christmas, this summer. It was home at one point, and we no, it was during the summer. It was June, and we just got to play together, and it was awesome. The god I played the most back then was the original Sun Wukong, Party Monkey, who he did celebration, and they went in random directions, and he was really cool. But yeah, that was it. It was mostly just to play with my brother because we didn't get to do anything together anymore, so that was really nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's super cool. Nosy, yeah, go on.
Well, I was playing Call of Duty with my friends, but I would never get to play at home because my mom wouldn't allow me. So I was watching this YouTuber called Steve Schwind, I only started Sniper Steve, who then picked up a game called Smite, and I would watch his videos, and then I was like, oh, this Smite looks pretty cool. And I was like, I would just wait for his Smite on YouTube, and then I started watching Drybear, like all the good old Smite YouTubers. And then eventually I got myself a code in like September 2012 or something, and then I just started grinding, playing. I really enjoyed it. I remember when I saw I got my home, I got my codes. Sorry, I would actually stay home from school. I'd be like, I'm feeling ill, and then I was at the age where my parents would still go to work, so I got to stay home the whole day and play Smite, and it was the best thing ever. And on that, I think I played Ra and the old Ao Kong, which is Kukulkan now, the most.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Alright, cool. I think Twig has a fairly similar story, so maybe switch over to him.
Absolutely. I actually did learn about Smite through Steve Schwint, the YouTuber. He made a series on YouTube just playing different characters, for the first time or second time, or I'd see them just for the first time, and I got addicted to his YouTube series really quickly. Decided to pick up Smite, but just because of how fun the game looked, and honestly, without his videos, I would never have installed Smite to begin with. So, yeah, same as Emilzy, I guess.
Yeah, I actually came down the YouTube route as well, except for me it wasn't Steve Schwint, it was a guy called German985 and a guy called Star, who I think, funnily enough, were actually friends with MLC Stealth, and I used to play with him a bit back in the day, way back in the day. And at the time I was playing like Call of Duty and Halo and FIFA on Xbox and stuff. I was just coming out of my first year at uni, and I bought my first PC with the money I earned, well, my first gaming PC, with the money I earned that summer working, just to play Smite, really. So, yeah, definitely YouTube had a big impact on me coming into it as well. What about you, Primo?
I was in uni, I think. Yeah, I was in uni. It was on my birthday, and as general on your birthday, you get to choose what everybody gets to play. It's kind of a deal. But you get like a birthday card on the following days as well. So I got to play, choose some new games. I googled because I saw it on Twitch once when I sat by, and it was like a MOBA with gods. So I just googled MOBA with gods, and then I found Smite, and we all just downloaded it and played it. Pretty much it. I played a lot of League and Dota before, so we just wanted a new MOBA really. Like a lot of my friends back then played as well.
Cool. What god did you first enjoy playing, or what gods?
The first god I ever played was Vulcan, but then I was a solid Kong, like the old Kong, the Strudel. Strudel main for a very, very long time. I was one of those, noodle mid with meditation kind of guy.
I think everybody played the noodle mid when they first started.
Yeah.
You could clear it. And then there was that TP thing when you TP'd the wave and you just cleared. And then and TP'd and cleared.
Yeah,
but
they have teleport consumable, right?
Yeah.
Alright, and Zalia, how did you get into Smite, and what did you first
An old
enjoy
friend
playing?
of mine told me he had a closed beta key for Smite. So I looked it up on YouTube to see what it was about. And at first I thought it looked really ugly. I thought the UI looked like a 10-year-old made it while falling down the stairs. I didn't, but regardless, it was an easy closed beta key, so I thought I might as well try it out. And it turned out to be pretty fun actually, and turned out to be pretty good at it, which made it more fun. As for the characters that I started playing, I started out with playing a bit of Ymir and just abusing the HP regen buff. That was the thing back then. 'Cause you were absolutely you were invulnerable almost playing Ymir at that point. But I quickly changed to Arachne that I played for like 100 games straight. The old Arachne, which is pretty
with the
good.
pull at the
Invade
ultimate.
every game, no one can fight you. It's pretty good.
Damn. Alright. Cool. I think we can say that question has been covered and move on to one from Ben Chaser. And Ben Chaser asks, what do you think puts you apart from other pro Smite teams? So like, what sets us apart from the other teams that we're competing against? What makes us the best team in the world? I think Twig is an expert at talking about why we're the best in the world, so I'll let him I think we should let him pick this one up.
It's basically God-given talent. We were kind of born with like the skills we have, it's not really practice or like us having to work hard to be as good as we are. We just got born like this good, like coordination wise, and like being smart and making the right decisions wise. Like it's just easy for people like us, talented young men like we are.
I think that covers it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That weaves good into the next question.
So the next question actually comes from Cliz. Hello, Cliz. And Cliz asks, how does Twig feel being a demigod chosen to dominate SPL with God-given talent, as you mentioned earlier? So Twig, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I guess it's pretty good. I didn't choose it, but it did happen to me. So
Do you not feel insulted that he refers to you as a demigod and not a full god?
I am a little bit insulted. Demigod is incorrect. I would rather you say dominate hard, on the SPL. I have been dominating hard. It's not. I'm not just anyone. Like, I was chosen at birth to dominate.
He is the cap. We actually have another question which I
the
want to skip to here because I think it leads on nicely from that one, and it says, how do you guys deal with Twig and his big head? And that's from Ilarion. And the other question that Ilarion asks is, how did you guys deal with the big losses? You all always seem so positive despite everything. What's your secret? So how do we deal with Twig and his big head? I mostly just ignore almost everything he says. I don't know about the rest of you guys.
I worship him. I decide to bask in it. That's how we're doing better now than ever before, because we're just in his presence. It makes us all better players by being near him. I'm probably the most devout on the team. I make sure to say a prayer to Twig every night before I go to sleep, and when I am blessed enough to see him at LAN in person, I do always correctly bow before greeting him.
And wash his feet. Wash his feet at night.
If I was so lucky for him to let me, then of course.
It feels like you're in a constant Amaterasu aura when you're around him. Just
Ah.
stronger, faster, harder to kill. It's amazing to have such a talented guy on the team.
I think we always try to be, you know, our best lesser version of Twig in this team. That's what binds us together, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one day I'll be like half the head Twig is, you know. Half the
That's
oomph.
true.
Okay. That was
Doubt
pretty
it,
good.
but you can try.
The other
Thank
thing they asked was, how do we deal with the big losses? We always seem so positive despite everything. I don't think you saw, well, at least the four of us after Worlds finals were very, very sad, very down. That'd be Nate, me, Prime, and Twig, who were all there. Also, I would say after summer split finals, we got a little bit down, but you know, we quickly went off and had some sangrias and some Japanese iced teas, and that cheered us up quite a lot. So yeah, I don't know. I think you've got to let losses get you down to make you not want them to happen again, you know? You've got to come out of losses thinking, God, what did we do wrong? What can we do better? And you've got to come into, you know, that next week of practice or whatever, working extremely hard to make sure that that never happens again. That's my mindset anyway. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I take losses super hard, and I think I should.
Absolutely agree with Paul. I think big losses do have a big effect on all of us. I don't think any of us are happy or okay with losing. I think you just got to let the big losses fuel the fire to keep you motivated and keep you looking to get better, keep you hungry to be the best, because you clearly aren't if you're losing.
Cool.
Yeah, I have the same. After if we tie or we lose games, I stay home from school if it's like a game, or like if we play Saturday, I'll stay home Monday or whatever to just play. If I feel like I did not perform well enough, then it's the same. Like it's more fuel to the fire. It's just the best way to deal with it. Everyone has their own way, but at least what works for me is just practice even harder. Because as Twig says, you're clearly not the best, which is what I'm sure we all want to be.
Nice. Anybody got anything to add there? We all good? Cool. Alright, and next up we have a question from CC Jolk123. I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but he asks, how do you feel about NRG's new roster? I don't know. I could totally see what they were trying to do with the roster change in picking up a player from a better team to improve themselves. But unfortunately they picked up a Spanish player, and picking up Spanish players always makes your team, you know, like 30-40% worse. So yeah, I think their new roster is pretty hot trash, and they're going to get dominated in the upcoming split, and that's a fact.
Shout out to puppies.
Shout out to the Pappies, who of course are the exception to the Spanish player rule, especially that Draco Marino guy. Okay.
You just savaged that. I love it.
You like it? Think it's good?
You just savaged it. I didn't think anyone was gonna go ham.
Yeah, I think I went hard enough.
Yeah.
Alright.
Good.
We've done this question, so it's the one from Shiravi. Alright, so the next question is from Shiravi, and Shiravi says, my question is for everyone. How do you handle any criticism that people say to you, and what is your advice to players out in the world who seek being a pro in Smite or gaming in general? So, how do you guys handle criticism? Do you receive any criticism?
I don't
bet you
believe
do.
criticism.
You don't believe in it?
No.
You just think it's all veiled positive comments?
Yeah. They're trying really hard to be positive, but they just need someone to teach them.
Okay.
In the same way, I'd say for me it's the same as losing games. I just say like any negativity, like losing or criticism from people, just let it fuel your fire to get better. Let it motivate you. Like, oh, people say you're bad now. Well, let that fuel you to get better, so that they can't say you're bad anymore. Let that fuel you to win, so that they can't call you bad anymore. Let them like let it be motivation when people like go for insults or criticism.
Yeah, I remember Simstar once wrote an article to start off season 3, where he pointed out that he would pick a player from each region that was the worst players in each region, and the ones least likely to succeed. And he wrote that he thought that was one of the worst players in the SPL, if not the worst. And when I saw that, I got very angry at first, but then I just had the mentality for the rest of that season. I want to prove this guy wrong. I want to prove this guy wrong, and I think I managed to do that really well, especially with being picked up for Obey because of my performance in season 3. So that was like a big shout out to Simstar, because I don't think I would have gone to that level if it wasn't for him.
Yeah. And where's Zimpat now, eh? Nowhere.
Well, it did have that hot org going.
Wow.
Hey, you ran a porn site, right?
Oh,
No?
I
Is
don't
that
know.
not the rumor?
Maybe. I didn't hear about any of this. Cool. Anybody else got anything on... Any advice on being a pro in Smite or in gaming in general? I obviously
We're
can't
going for
answer that. I say give up. Try and be pro, then give up and become a coach.
I'm going for the very frank answer on how to become a pro. It's probably... I mean, a lot of people can be good at games, and I'd say maybe upwards of 90% of it is kind of luck. If you really, really want to be pro at a game, I'd say pick a new game. Just like, you gotta kind of gamble, you know? Like, I don't think very few people chose to become a pro. They were just good at the game, and then esports kind of started happening in that game. I think there are very few exceptions that exist in games like CSGO and Dota 2 and League of Legends where new players have risen up. At least to my knowledge. I feel like you probably just, if that's something you really want to do, you kind of gotta guess new game, because it's so hard to get noticed when an esport is being developed. Like, I'm sure anyone on this team could good at Dota 2 or League of Legends if we wanted to, but I guarantee none of us would ever get picked up in the Pro League for, like, literally 99% chance that we never would, because we'll never get noticed, you know? We're not special, no one's got a reason to believe it. And I think that's probably what it comes down to pros in general. None of us are really special, we're just a bit more lucky at the right place at the right time.
Sure. I wouldn't say it's all luck. I'd say some of it is about, you know, working hard enough and being good enough.
But
Yeah, what are you saying, Pran?
God
Well,
give him
that's not
talent, right?
gotta give him talent, but most it's a little bit of luck, but a lot of pros work a lot harder than.
Do they? Like, if you
Now that
be
they're
honest,
pros, they are
look at so
working hard,
many
I guess.
SPL players right now. How many of them don't even play the game?
Well, you work a
just turn
lot
up the
harder
scrims.
though until you become a pro, kinda. Like, you
Yeah,
have to-
maybe.
Before
I
you
never
became a
viewed
pro, I
myself
played
as
so much
special.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you do have to. It's a combination of the two. You got to work hard, but you've also got to, you know, get into a game early. Probably is the major thing I'd say, and also, you know, hopefully, someone decides to give you that chance to make it onto a semi-decent team, and from there you work your way up. You know.
I'd say some of it is working hard, but a lot of it is having the right attitude to learn and become better. Like, the amount of players that there are who might be good enough at Smite or video games, coordinated and smart enough to play well, but just don't have the right attitude, have the "it's not my fault if we lose, it's my team's fault" attitude that will never become the best. It really holds them back, whereas a lot of pros, I know Adapting, when he was getting a lot better, he hasn't been a pro since the very start. He became really good in season 2. I always saw him in ranked with the attitude to learn, to get better, rather than pass off the blame and say it wasn't my fault. And I think that's really core.
Absolutely.
I think you're definitely right. Attitude is actually a huge part of it. That's what I mean. So when I said that a lot of people are good enough, there are a lot of people who have the skill and attitude to do it. But you need to kind of be in the right place, right?
Alright, next question from Makuta24, who says, who is the hardest team to face? It says is SPL, but I assume that means in SPL. So I guess we could go through this 1v1 unless everybody's going to say NRG, which is what I would say.
I would also say energy.
Well, that was pre them picking up a Spanish player, obviously, but
They're just the hardest to close the game out against. You know, they're the one team that you can never really count out. They've always put up such a great defense when they should lose. You know, like you get to a point where you just, you know, this is kind of an auto win so long as someone doesn't do something really stupid. And against energy, you never get to that point until you actually kill the time, which is probably what makes them the scariest. You never know you got a win until you've actually won it. You know.
yep. Anybody want to say anything else? Anybody want to come out with like a Twig?
I don't know.
What about Draco?
Draco. I don't have that much. I don't think Energy is per se the worst team or the hardest team to face in SPL, but I don't know if that's because historically I've been in teams that perform decently against Energy, at least compared to other teams. So maybe I'm not too worried about them for that reason, but right now I just go with the strongest in EU, and I'd say Dig would.
I think
Yeah.
I'm with Dahlia here that I think Dig are slightly harder to face, or at least starting recently. I think
Recently, of course.
Dig are a little bit scarier, even though Energy still have the all the really strong players that they still have. Plus Maniac, I just think going in and preparing for Dig is so hard because they pick so many of the best characters in every role, and you can't ban out every single one of them.
I'd probably say energy though.
I don't
Same
know. I
agreement
just
as
feel,
Nate.
I feel like I'm thinking about this question historically rather than right now. I think right now, if I was to play
Right
one of
now
the
it's-
teams tomorrow, I'd rather play Energy than Dig. But
I don't know.
historically-
I think if I was to play one of the teams 6 months from now, I'd probably still say I wouldn't want to play Energy 6 months from now.
I'd
Yeah,
still
it
say Dig.
depends though, but historically
that's
they're-
hard to say.
they're really hard to end a game against. Like it's not, as Nate said, it's not as easy to win when you're actually winning against energy. It's not as easy to end the game because they play very well around being behind, really. Which I don't know if Dig really does.
Alright, cool. So we got some Digs, we got some NRGs. Okay, next question. We're getting there. Alright, so this is the second last question. We got a fairly big one here, and it's from I Forgot My Old Account. And he says, first of all, huge fan. To all, what are moments you wish to relive? How does drafting work? Do you set out to draft a specific team on or draft on the go? So yeah, I guess we all go through moments to relive, and then someone can grab the drafting stuff. Are there any moments you'd like to relive, Nate? Losing
well,
worlds for a
first,
third time?
we'll add that one to the list. First I'd like to say a big shout out to I Forgot My Old Account, because he has been supporting me and Prime in particular since the Titan days. And, you know, that means the world. It's the people who you know every time I click on an SPL post-match lobby, I see him in there, and that, you know, that's this makes the whole thing so much better than it already is. You know, this is already the best job we could ever have, and it just makes it even better. So thank you, daily, for that. Moments to relive, though, I don't really do regret, or I try not to anyway. So I'm gonna be boring and say that there is no moment. Well, I guess I could relive a positive one. That says a lot about me that I went straight to negative, doesn't it? A moment. I don't know. I only thought of negatives.
Spring split finals?
Positive moment. Nah. It would be our first LAN. That would. Yeah. Well, it's a shared moment for me and Prime, I think. But yeah, the first LAN that we won was because it was our first LAN. It was the first time I'd ever been at anything like that. I'd only been playing like amateur Smite Challenger Cup stuff before that. Never in the SPL, so that was a huge deal, and that was a real awesome. No win or LAN has ever felt as special as that one.
Cool. Neil Z?
I don't know. I would probably go for the spring split finals. I could say any. I'm gonna go for the Dick game. Like, I think everyone in this team has a big rivalry against Energy, but I also have a kind of a personal agenda against Dick, because they actually kinda got a bit forced into choosing Trix, Tango, or me, because Curefed said, I'm not joining you guys if Trix is not coming, which is totally fair, because they're all friends. So, being against a team that I was actually one of the persons that started the thought with Miyako and Cyros wanting to play together. So, like, beating them in a final with winning something for the first time was such a good experience. Like, I have never been so happy in my life before. That was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the spring split as well, but I guess I'll go with World Semi-Final? The final was super bad for us, so I got to jump back one to the semi-final where we played against Eager. So, I don't know. That was just like being in front. I wasn't even playing, but even coaching in front of a crowd that crazy, and winning and having great games like we did there. You know, going 2-0 up for it to come back to 2-2. And then us to win 3-2. That was how it went, right? We did go 2-0 up, yeah.
It was 3-2.
Yeah, it was 2-0, then 2-2, then 3-2. But yeah, it was just incredible to be able to look out at like how many people were sitting there watching us, you know. So yeah, I'd go with that. Primo?
I'd go with the first LAN we won. The first LAN I went, which is the EU regionals. Because right before that I was kind of out of money, and I just dropped out of uni, so I was kind of banking on winning it as well. That was a really good it's a really great feeling. Actually winning a LAN is such a good feeling. Like, you have like no real regrets when you actually win a LAN, and it's the first LAN I ever went to. Like the first really competitive experience I ever had, I guess. It's also with my first team I ever had as well. So. Yeah, and it kind of panned out from there, like the rest of my Smite career, kinda. So yeah, that LAN.
Nice. Twig?
The Twigger.
For me, there's a couple or a few. One is winning my first LAN with SK Gaming, playing with Badger, Reels, Zeros, and Maniac. That was just such an amazing moment for me. It was our first LAN, much like Nate and Prime won their first LAN. It was an amazing moment. It was an amazing feeling just to win a LAN. I think it was the ESL studios in Cologne, and everything just seemed so amazing at that moment. The other one has got to be in the spring split LAN, the Masters LAN, except not after we beat Dig. After we beat Energy, it felt like there was this huge line that I just crossed individually since I was on Fnatic. Salon back then, who turned into Energy, had been this huge block. I don't know if I'd say mentally, but they literally knocked me out of almost every LAN event. So for over a year now, then, and it just felt like such a huge victory to finally like knock them out for once. And they were rough games. It was a very rough best of 3. And I felt like we should have lost it, and it just felt like such a huge win for me. I would want to relive that moment.
We were behind, right? Now we're slightly winning.
We're behind game 2. Game 2
we should have lost game 2.
And we came back. Game 3 we won like pretty comfortably, right?
Yeah.
I think
we should have won
one
game 1, right? That was the sad part, right?
Yeah, game 1 we threw.
Yeah, that was the rough bit.
Oh yeah, we threw, then they threw.
Yep. Anyway, so Zalia, what about you? What are some Smite moments you'd like to relive?
I think it'd have to be one of the super regionals back when I was in Paradigm, I believe. We were third seed, and we had to go through all the teams, or not all the teams, but on our side of the bracket we had to go from the bottom, and we ended up beating NRG, which looked genuinely unbeatable at that point in time, and that just felt like the best thing ever after everything. Our first set almost seemed like the hardest. We were the closest to just losing it all there, and then we managed to work all the way through to Energy and beating them. That was really good.
Yeah, I remember that tournament. Super cool to watch. Okay, so we have another few questions from I forgot my old account. So how does drafting work? Do you set out to draft a specific team or draft on the go?
We should put this on Nils. Nils,
no.
talk us through the draft.
think that's an awful mistake. I think with us in terms of drafting, we have as a few cores or a few combinations that we like together, but other than that, you know, we just draft things that work well together as the draft goes on. We're not looking to get 5 specific characters. I don't think I've ever been on a team where you look to get 5 specific characters. It's you look to get, you know, maybe if you have, I'm trying to give an example which is
Maybe the first
not
3
true.
that you try to look
maybe,
for. But
maybe if you have
that's it.
Bacchus, you also want to draft a Thoth so that you can Thothel off of Bacchus flop, you know?
Very
Uh,
reliable combo.
Yeah, I'm trying
Yeah.
not to give an example which is true because I don't want to give any
It's a very,
draft
like,
specific
it's
stuff
a-
away.
It's a flexible situation where you always want the best in this specific situation, right? So there's usually a couple of characters at the top of the meta which define the pick and ban stage, and then it's how those characters get distributed in the draft to whichever teams really shapes what's come after that. Because it's very impossible to say that I want, you know, this ADC into this game, because unless there is just one ADC that's the complete best, then a lot of it is very situational as to what the enemy jungler is and stuff like that.
Yeah, we could use an example that we did in the start where we would play Amaterasu, and then we would aim to get something like Kunina Solar, because we wanted full pressure in the dual lane early on, and instead of picking something like more late game oriented, maybe like a Rama, Jingwei or something like that, we'd make sure to pick early pressure, because it works out really well. And it's just that would,
Yeah.
like, these kind of picks would not have been good if we didn't have an Amaterasu, if we had a low pressure support.
Yep.
Etc. etc.
I feel like it becomes a lot trickier. Like you can pick full pressure in like every lane and kind of win out of that. But if you don't, drafting medium amount of pressure, probably harder, I'd say.
Yeah, making sure you have the balance between your picks, you mean, so that, like, you know,
Yeah,
if mid has really weak pressure, you have to make sure that, you know, your jungle has quite strong pressure.
You can't lose every lane in the start because then you're just dead.
Yep.
Basically.
Cool. And I think we'll finish off with a question from Evil Hunter. So we'll keep you on the hot seat, Zelia. And he says, Zelia, got anything to say to your fans now that you're back? What have you got to say to them, Zelia?
I mean, first of all, don't call a comeback winner for years. That has to be said, I think. And
Yeah, yeah.
other than that, for a more serious note, I guess if you do consider yourself a fan, thank you for following me. But I hope you stick along for the ride, as we are bound to win Worlds. And
Of course.
let's
Cool.
go.
Right.
Alright.
I think
We made it.
that's us, right? We made it.
Yeah.
We did it.
So,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna call it there before we all fall out, and I don't even know what's gonna happen if we keep going with any more questions. So thank you all very much for all the questions. We do appreciate it a lot. We had a lot of fun answering them. Yeah, thank you all for watching. If you watched to the end, that was a long video, probably.
I did the
Thanks and
nerf
goodbye.
Rogen.